Start ABT Site project and basic settings. This video will show you the basic settings to start a DCGO control point project with ABT Site. If you need further information about detailed settings of ABT Site, please watch the dedicated e-learning, available on My Learning platform, or read the official documentation. Before to start the ABT Site for the very first time, it is suggested to prepare in advance these folders locally in your PC. The naming showed here are just an example. Once ABT Site is started, the Help Online starts automatically. You can close it and call it again whenever you want by clicking the command on the top right corner. The project view is now loaded. Go to the Settings menu and define the basic settings about the user interface, like the language of the tool. If you would like the ABT Site splash screen and the Help Online starting when the software is launched. Another important setting is about the browser. Since only Google Chrome is supported by DCGO Control Point system, you can either set by your own Chrome as default browser in your Windows operating system, or even manually set it for ABT Site. In this case, select this option and copy here the path of the executable file of the Chrome browser. Then, move to the Project and Paths area and define the default project settings to your preferred system unit, HQSI for European or HQUS for American. Set now the default folders that we created in advance. We can come back now to the project view. Here, if there are already some existing projects, it is possible to see the whole list and manage them. To create a new project, just click the dedicated button, Add Project, or right-click anywhere in the white area of the pane and Add Project. There is also the possibility to create folder projects in order to better organize the list. Now, it's required to define a name to the project, the administrator password, that must follow the here described rules, then confirm, and, as additional, but not mandatory, a description. Tick the option Root Project if you want that this new project will be placed in the root folder, and not in the selected lower-level folder. In short words, if you are adding a new project from a specific folder project, and you tick this option, the system will ignore the folder project, and it will place the new one on the top level, which is called Root Folder Project. Let's now have a look together to the basic settings in ABT Site, required to work with DCGO control point devices. From Settings menu, we can then find on the left a set of submenus. Let's start with Address Defaults. In the tab IP, it's necessary to set all the IP-related settings like naming rule, UDP port, and the IP addresses. These settings will be applied to a building hierarchy, and so, it's recommended to carefully think over what will be defined here. This will simplify the workflow, because, if changes need to be done later, all of these addresses can be manually edited one by one for each single element. As described in the Help Online, name and descriptions of some objects can be automatically extended by a number. The name pattern is defined by a fixed part by default, and in this example, the fixed part is AS, standing for Automation Station, and an auto number part, where the number in curly brackets defines the number of leading zeros. So, in this example, the first device will be AS01, the second will be AS02, and so on. At the bottom, we can create and export the certificates to improve the cybersecurity of the system. This step has been already quickly described in the sign-in and log-out video, which is part of the Basics module, and we also recommend to watch the dedicated video available on My Learning, Certificate Management. In the BACnet tab, we can define the BACnet names and the index rules. For further details about all of the IP and BACnet settings, please refer to the Help Online. In the section User Profiles, Common Settings, we can define some general settings for the project. Like blocking time for failed login, the login attempts the minimum password length, and the password policy. In order to work with strong passwords, we strongly recommend to use all the proposed options. Additional to the password policy and login settings, it's also possible to define the room operation and technical operation priorities for the manual mode. We recommend to keep the default settings. Tick the option Save Encrypted Password with the project data, in order to be sure that all the passwords will be saved together the project data. This is helpful in case of any problem to easily recover these passwords. Without ticking this option, then, it would be necessary to note the password somewhere else, like in a notepad, otherwise it's not possible to recover them back. And of course, this goes against the general basic rules in terms of cybersecurity. Let's jump now to the Roles tab, where we can find some predefined user roles. All the settings for these user roles can be set here. For DCGO control point, we can focus on the specific settings, the operation access, that defines which part of the system will be available for the users assigned to this specific role. In the Users tab, we can find the list of predefined users, and each user is assigned to a specific role. When a new project is started for the first time, as you have seen already, the password for the administrator user is immediately defined. But the password for all of the other predefined users needs still to be set, and when no password is set for a user, the username is marked in red in this list. This condition will not allow to download the configuration to the devices. This step is described in the dedicated video user profiles in ABT site, together with all the other settings for the profiles. In the naming defaults, we can define object names, which are either the building elements like building, floor, area, and so on, or central functions and room functions for room automation. For DCGO control point, the most significant are the building and floor names. The next section is the localization, where we can define local settings like the time zone, the engineering unit, and the languages. Last important section in the settings is the number ranges. Here we in general define the device instance numbers, which are necessary in DCGO control point as well. Please note that it's essential to define all the naming and addresses, and the passwords, together with the customer, and prepare a proper plan,